I welcome you to the program again after the break. And now, like I said before, I was going on the break that the telephone lines would be open after the break. The lines are very much indeed, they are open. So you can make a telephone call, you can pass a comment, you can share your views on today's topics, and or you can ask any question pertaining to today's issue which we are discussing. Now, a second issue for today's program, Double Standards program, is the state of affairs, the strength, political strength, the terrorist strength, and the territories held by the ISIL or ISIS or Daesh, what is going on in this year. So this was a momentous year, full of events, from the 1st of January 2015 to the middle of December 2015. So in these 11 and a half months, what we have seen is that ISIS or ISIL at one time was controlling Ramadi, it was controlling the Beji refinery, oil refineries, it was controlling Tikrit, Mosul, and on the other side of the Iraqi border in Syria, like Raqqa, which is still a very stronghold, a bastion of the power of ISIL or ISIS at the moment. So in the last 11 and a half months, what we have seen is, and it has been corroborated by the empirical evidence provided by the people who are reporting from those parts of the world. They are there on the ground, and they state that more than 78,000 square kilometers of the territory has been recaptured from the ISIL terrorists. Now, this is a phenomenal development. Now, I must say, credit goes to Saudi Arabia to some degree. They have started behaving responsibly, and Turkey is changing itself. And obviously, it attributes to that. So obviously, these 78,000 square kilometers of territory has come back to the state functionaries, the state forces. Now we have got a caller online. Assalamu alaikum.
हेलो अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
वालेकुम अस्सलाम।
जी, आपका जो पहला टॉपिक था रायवन यात्रा, बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग टॉपिक है, लेकिन एक इंटेलेक्चुअल जो person like yourself can choose such a wonderful topic and have that deep vision on this topic. I think we need to dig deep on this issue, the way Nawaz Sharif did everything. It's slap on everybody, like our Shoda and Muslims, and it's slap on their faces. And a person like Nawaz Sharif can slap like this on their faces. And our media ministers, they are covering Nawaz Sharif's this personal, personal business and everything what he has with Jindal and with India, because an honorable prime minister who has the most highly rank in Pakistan, having business with the most the biggest enemy of Pakistan, and that is a shame as well, and it's a pity as well. I don't know how to explain all this, but it's really painful. I wish that we have presenter like yourself on our media who have very fair and discussion like this, the way you did on this topic. Nobody ever done or nobody even tried to do discussion like this on this topic, because it is really मैं थोड़ा सा उर्दू में बात
जी जी जरूर, बिस्मिल्लाह। उर्दू हमारी कौमी ज़बान है, मैं फ़ख्र इस ज़बान पर।
मीडिया जो कहता है कि सब कुछ जो है वो क्या ये पर्सनल था, या मीडिया पर, पाकिस्तानी मीडिया पर एक डिस्कशन है कि पर्सनल था, या इसमें कौमी मफाद, तो इसमें क्वेश्चन पूछने की क्या ज़रूरत है? आप देखें कि एक वज़ीर ख़जाना की इतनी इम्पोर्टेंट पोस्ट है, वो उनके समधी के पास है। वज़ीर ख़ारजा की पोस्ट उन्होंने अपनी जेब में डाली हुई है, अपने ख़ानदान में सारे वो बांटे हुए हैं। लेकिन मैं जब एक डिक्टेटर आता है, मैं सिर्फ इस वजह से मुझे है कि वो नाम का डिक्टेटर होता है, लेकिन ये काम के सारे डिक्टेटर
जी
हैं।
बहुत शुक्रिया बहन, आपकी बड़ी खूबसूरत बड़े सटल अंदाज से आपने बहस की, और आपके आर्गूमेंट जो हैं, आपके ये दलाइल जो हैं, ऑनेस्टली इन्होंने मुझे एक नई जहत दे दी है इस पे डिस्कशन करने के लिए। आपका क्या इसमें ग्रामी है बहन, और कहाँ से कॉल किया आपने? ओके, थैंक यू। वी गॉट अनदर कॉलर ऑनलाइन, या प्लीज़। सलाम अलैकुम।
जी वालेकुम सलाम, Dr. Ajaz साहब, Maqsood Sensi is speaking from Watford. Actually, you just mentioned about that. Was Parliament taken into confidence when Modi arrived in Pakistan? It is only important to take Parliament in confidence when the legitimacy of the Parliament and the status of it prevails, and it is there. But if it is just a rubber stamp, you don't need it sometime. My question to you is that what happened in three hours only before arriving in Pakistan? Modi was finger pointing at Pakistan as a terrorist element and state. What happened? What magic happened in those 3 hours that he was, within that 3 hours, he was visiting Mian Nawaz Sharif as a good buddy, as they are very good chum, and he attended also the family wedding and met the domestic members and left a very good impression on the family and Mian Nawaz Sharif to be a good friend of Pakistan. I am surprised, and I will insist to ask you, I will request you to please, if you can explain, what was the magic he done in those 3 hours. In Afghanistan, he was pointing Pakistan as a terrorist state and creating terrorism on the borders, and within 3 hours, the world changed and it came 180 degrees. What happened? Both. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very valid points, actually. No, I must add to that during the last 8 or 9 years, India has purportedly invested more than $2 billion in the infrastructure of Afghanistan, starting from the building of roads, and those roads are of strategic importance. India does not have a territorial link with Afghanistan. They have their sorties, they fly from Tajikistan, or they use the Tajikistan landmass to enter Afghanistan, obviously. So $2 billion worth of investment in roads, in dispensaries, hospitals, colleges, universities, and for the last 4 or 5 years or so, Afghanistan's fighter pilots, they are being trained by the Indian Air Force. One of their former air chiefs, Brown, Air Chief Marshal Brown, he openly admitted that we are training the fighter pilots of Afghanistan in our Air Force camps in India. So obviously that's there. So the Indian Corps of Engineers, Indian Corps of Army Medical Corps, AMC, they are there. Indian Education Corps, these people are they are there, they are operating there, they are doing their job over there. And this is known, and along the line, the thousands of raw agents, they're more formidable in operation than the agents of an erstwhile KGB, Komitat Gosudastvennoye Bezopasnosti, Soviet Russia's prime intelligence agency, KGB. So even their agents were not that lethal as these raw agents are operating. Thousands of them, they are there. At some time, I mean in 2010, 2011, this was again a substantiated information that India had as many as 32 consulates operating in Afghanistan. So you can understand from there, if they have made such a heavy investment in Afghanistan, so obviously when investment comes into a country, that also brings a heavy baggage on the nation, and that heavy baggage affects the independence of decision making, may that be at the Foreign Office or the Defense Ministry or the Interior Ministry of a country in tumultuous circumstances for the last 3 decades. So obviously from where here you can understand that that's such huge investment there, that the state affairs, the decision making at Kabul is being influenced by India, of course. And obviously there are 3 to 4 entry points from Afghanistan to Pakistan, from Khyber Pakhtunkhwa down to Chaman in Balochistan, where these terrorists, they have been coming and they have been exploding bombs, they have been carrying out terrorist activities in Pakistan. But thank God, since the launch of Zarb-e-Azab anti-terrorist campaign by the highly capable leadership in the GHQ, so these threats, they have been reduced significantly, at least 80 to 90%. So during the last 18 or 19 months or so, ever since this was launched, the bomb blast, the assault, killing, that has been reduced quite considerably. So this is otherwise, if that had not been taken, and Mr. Nawaz Sharif, like I said about him, that he thinks twice before saying nothing. So that sort of Prime Minister, alhamdulillah, we have. And so he was very reluctant. He did not allow the national security mandarins to launch that operation. I mean, I have been writing dozens of articles, strategy papers, and I have been putting pressure on these politicians making decisions in Pakistan that, for God's sake, right from the time they have been pursuing, they have been prioritizing their strategies not to use the bullet against the killer, but to get their citizens, their people being killed by them, and fomenting a reign of terror. And the reign of terror in Pakistan has been supporting the so-called politicians in Pakistan, because then the nation is busy, the nation is locked in the survival, and the politicians, they make hay while the sun shines. So billions of dollars have been plundered in Pakistan from more than 40 big conglomerates where there was industrial output, there was manufacturing, all these units were operating and they were generating a lot of funds for Pakistan's national economy. So the politicians were plundering those, and the public eye and public attention was distracted not towards their plundering of national assets, but to the survival from these bomb blasts and being. So this was a pre-planned strategy. So Nawaz Sharif prolonged that. In my views, I wrote dozens of articles that ever since General Sanaullah Niazi was assassinated on the 15th of September 2013 in Swat, GOC Swat he was at that time, along with his G1. So Zarb-e-Azab should have been launched from that day. But from September 2013 down to April, so so many chances were missed, and another 2,000 people were killed between these 7-8 months when no decision was taken to launch. So anyway, now I go to my other issue which I have to discuss, that is ISIL being weakened. So they lost 78,000 square kilometers of their territory in the last 11 and a half months. And now yesterday, the Iraq's national securities, Iraq's national forces, they recaptured Ramadi, a very important, strategically very important bastion of the military strength for ISIL. So that has been captured. But the way the spokesman of the Iraqi military leadership, Brigadier Yahya Rasool, the way he was over exuberant, I have a little pinch of salt to buy his ideas that ISIL, to be honest, they still have means to fight back. If not in Ramadi, they will do something elsewhere. They will come to Baghdad, they will strike there. They will come to Samarra, they will strike there. They might come to the other parts of because still they are holding quite the large swathes of territories, both in Iraq, and in Syria. And again, when we talk of Iraq, then obviously we are glad to learn that Mosul, Tikrit, all they were under their occupation, under their control. So slowly and gradually, so the government's writ was established in these areas. And but the two incidents that recently occurred now, but Raqqa, which is the headquarters for the ISIL, is still under ISIL control, and the government forces. No, the Syrian government forces are not that powerful, are not that well equipped with arms and weapons, with the command and control structure, with leadership, with maneuvers, with deployment, with able commanders. So they are not that capable, the Syrians, the indigenous armed forces of Syria, as the Iraqi armed forces. Now with the passage of time in the last 3-4 years, they have been on the learning curve, but they have learned very quickly. So now they have the capacity to launch a major military operation against ISIL. So they have done that. Ramadi, well done. Full marks to the Iraqi. But they have to sustain that. They have to retain their conquests. And they have to capitalize by their human resource, by their weapons, by equipment, and make sure that that stays with them. Because the copycat effect of that recapture will help them in other areas. So well done, our hat off for the Iraqi armed forces. But Raqqa is still we are looking at, and that would be a big news when the ISIL marauding terrorists, they are hunted out of Raqqa. But two incidents, they carry huge importance and significance in terms of contemporary international relations or the strategic development in that area. And one of those events was the assassination of Samir Kantar. Samir Kantar was a strong military leader right from his teenage, and from 1979 when he was only 16 years of age. He was a fighter at that time. He was a good fighter, able fighter. He could use guns, he could use grenades, he could use rockets, he could use even machetes and knives. With surgical precision, he could attack the enemy. So obviously he was an asset to the Palestinian Liberation Front, and also later on when he joined the Hezbollah against the Zionists, then he became an asset. He learned more combat operations, and definitely he was a big commander, and he was operating in Golan Heights. Now, when he was assassinated on the 19th of December, so that was, in a way, that was a setback to the Palestinian Liberation Front, and to some degree to Hezbollah, those Hezbollah commanders who were deployed in Golan Heights. Now, interesting, let me share with you, the Golan Heights is basically a Syrian territory. It consists of about 1,800 square kilometers of land, and the topmost summit of Golan Heights is, I think it's more than 9,000 feet. So obviously strategically it's a very, very important place from where if a proper deployment of forces is done by the Druze. So Druze are operating there, and with the support of Hezbollah, with the support of other anti-Zionist forces from the Muslim countries. There are very few Muslim countries who really withstood against the Zionist killers. So if Golan Heights, now out of 1,800 square kilometers of Golan Heights, in the 6-day war of June 1967, from that time, Israeli Zionist troops, they occupied illegally, illegitimately, immorally, 2/3 of the area of Golan Heights, like 1,200 square kilometers. So in the remaining 1/3, which is the 600 square kilometers, the Druze and other freedom fighters, they are there, deployed there. And at one stage, now Israeli defense forces at Tel Aviv, their commanders had recently many sleepless nights when they came to know that the Druze are almost with consummate skills in warfare, in raging battles. So obviously they are in a position to threaten Israel's national security from that vantage point. So obviously they wanted to get rid of him. So with him, about 7,000 strong Druze and other troops who were taking orders from him and very effectively deployed in that area. So the Israelis, the Mossad, they got rid of him on the 19th of December. He was killed. So a week later, another big incident that occurred, and that was the assassination of the killing of the Syrian rebel leader, the top leader of the rebels, pitted against the Syrian defense forces with the name Zahiran Aloush. So he was killed a week later on the 26th of December on the Boxing Day. And obviously these two killings, I mean, they are very intricate. They send so many signals to the respective camps that what could be the future shape, especially after the big powers, the Security Council at the United Nations recently they achieved a peace formula for Syria. So these two events could amount to a big blow to the outcome of the recently agreed accord by the all warring nations, where so many unwanted leaders, they were also there. But anyway, that was a successful show and some theoretical framework was done there. Now the question arises that how ISIL is becoming weak. So is that because of the drone attacks from the United States and US coalition forces? Is that because of the Eurofighters operating there? Or is that by the F-16 operating there from the NATO forces? Or is that because of the mercenary hired troops which Saudi Arabia is using, paying heavy price to hire the troops of other nations to carry out air attacks on their planes? So is that because of that? Or it is because Turkey has started behaving. Previously, Turkey has been in the Middle East like an enfant terrible, like a shenanigan. I mean, now Turkey has started behaving ever since those 3-4 major bomb blasts they were carried out in Turkey's heartland. So Turkish president, who we cannot, to be honest, we cannot trust him. But because of circumstantial compulsion, now he's at the back foot, and maybe he's playing inadvertently. He's playing a positive role, and he might have revoked providing safe havens to the ISIL troops and providing more troops from the Western countries. All these youth who are being radicalized and being sent there through Turkish border, they penetrate into Syria and they join the ISIL forces. So because Turkey has started behaving, or because Saudi Arabia recently they launched and they announced about 2 weeks ago their highly ambitious, a mini NATO strong force of 34 Muslim nations, so their strong military bloc, so to handle the situation in the Middle East or elsewhere. So as per the ambitious plan of Prince Mohammed bin Salman, the deputy crown prince, and also the defense minister for Saudi Arabia, and supported by the foreign minister, who is not from the royal family of Saudi Arabia, Adil Al-Jubair. So these two people, when they revealed and they divulged the terms and conditions and the details about that 34 nation strong Muslim nations military alliance to combat the terrorists in Middle East, may that be ISIL, may that be Nusra Front, may that be Islamic Jihad, or elsewhere in across the Mediterranean into Africa, like Boko Haram in Nigeria. So because perhaps Saudi Arabia has started realizing that now it's a time they should put their hands up and they should withdraw their support, if not material, at least the military support to Abu Bakr Baghdadi's caliphate. So situation is improving. There could be many reasons, but the thing is, such an ambition by Saudi Arabia, supported by other 5 Gulf Cooperation Council states, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, UAE, and Oman. So obviously there are some blueprints of that already at hand, available through the media. that there is an ambition of raising 250,000 troops of these 34 Muslim nations, and to raise a big army of rapid response force. So they will be using the main battle tank. That will be a tank battle, and latest artillery pieces, and rocket batteries and missile batteries, and the infantry and state-of-the-art infantry battalions to mobilize, like as we call the boots on the ground, to deal with the threat of ISIL, or for that matter other outfits, other franchises. So having said that, 250,000 troops, now who is going to provide the human resource for that? That's a big question. We can say it's an allocation of staggering $20 billion for the next 3 years to raise 250,000 troops, called the Alliance of Muslim of Islamic military. So 250,000 people, and they would be funded by the 6 Gulf Cooperation Council states. But the human resource, they have sent the requisitions, the preliminary requisitions, to Egypt, to Turkey and Pakistan, the 3 Muslim countries with the optimal military strength. All 3 of them, they have in excess of 500,000 troops ready to be deployed. But this is a way, this is a more sensible way to involve all the 34 Muslim states to make a bigger military bloc, to replace NATO in the region. So perhaps that might address one question, that when people they start radicalizing the youth in Lancashire, in Yorkshire, in Bedfordshire. So one big argument is given to these youth, these British youth, or the youth from other EU countries, that look, these non-Muslim troops from NATO, from other military blocs, they have started killing the Muslims. At least they are the Muslims. At least they recite Kalama Tayyibah and Kalma Shahadat. They are the Muslims. At least they say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa la sharika lahu. So they should not be killed by the non-Muslim troops from NATO. So maybe that's one reason that why these people are being radicalized. So addressing that, the Saudi government has launched this plan that no, this is a force, military force, which is of the Muslim countries, by the Muslim countries, and for the Muslim countries. So they will deal with the scourge of terrorism launched by some so-called Muslim youth. So this is one area. But the next thing is that who is going to have the command and control of that? This is also taken Pakistan into confidence, because about 8-9 months ago, when the Saudis they made a point blank request to Pakistan that send the troops to be deployed in Yemen to kill to kill the Yemeni Muslims. And the Pakistan Army's capable leadership, they said, no, we are not sending that. Although Nawaz Sharif, he had some sweaty vest under his kameez that he was willing to send, because he could not afford to offend Saudi Arabia. So, but the good sense, the mundane wisdom that prevailed in the general headquarters. So all the military commanders, all the supporters, all the aides of military aides of General Rahil Sharif, they said, no, we are not sending troops to Saudi Arabia only to kill Muslim brothers in Yemen. But now they have rephrased and rebranded that requisition. They say that, could you please send some troops to become a constituent part of the greater Muslim military alliance of 34 nations, so that we deal with the terrorists. If that happens, and Pakistan Army decides to send, say, 25 to 30,000, that makes like two big divisions or one corps of infantry, of armored corps or artillery. So the combined force of that, 25 to 30,000 people, if they are paid for this 34 nation military bloc initiated by Saudi Arabia. So if these troops come from Pakistan, then obviously Pakistan has got a success story. Pakistan has got a successful model of Zarb-e-Azab. If I have to give an advice to the general headquarters in Rawalpindi, then I would say to General Rahil Sharif that these troops, they should be completely under the command of indigenous 2-star generals of Pakistan Army. So they should carry out the operation, because only one country amongst the 57 Muslim countries of the world, there's only one country that has really proved that they can deal with the terrorists, they can tackle the terrorist threat, and only through a model like Zarb-e-Azab. So if they are able to use that template, if they are able to replicate Zarb-e-Azab model for this 34 nation and give the command and control to the Pakistan Army, not the Egyptians. Egyptians, they have never won a war, neither 1967 nor 1973. So nor the Turks have ever won. They wasted 3.5 centuries of Muslim empire, the Ottoman Empire, and they ended up in fiasco. They evaporated in 1922 when the Ottoman Empire that crumbled. So obviously Turkey does not have a successful story. Egypt does not have a successful model to combat terrorism. Only Pakistan has done that. So if a 34 nation military alliance is raised within the next 3 years, it must be ruled and commanded by Pakistani military commanders. With that, I conclude my program. I shall come back next Monday with another topic, maybe one, maybe two, maybe three, and share my little bit recondite knowledge with you. Until then, Khuda Hafiz.